Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Gloria Me, will invite a bookish guest to share their favorite book recommendation. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. Today's bookish guest is Becca and Amelia Rose from Consensual Podcast. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
So happy to have you here. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Becca goes first and then Amelia.
Sounds good. All right. My name is Becca, and I am a writer and a marketing professional. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and this whole bad boy was kind of my brainchild, and I'm lucky enough to work with an amazing team of women, and one of which is our author, Amelia Rose here.
Okay.
Hi. So I am Amelia J. Rose. I'm a romance writer with Consensual, and I'm the author of 10-Week Turnabout.
I love it. So let's talk about the Consensual Podcast. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so there's three of us. We're a team of three women, and we all have a variety of experience in the romance industry, and the three of us are all writers, and we were really out to accomplish two things when we started Consensual, one of which was advocating for explicit consent and feminist ideals in the romance industry. We wanted to create stories that cater to kind of 20-something romance readers, which is what we are as well. And second, we wanted to create this unique, immersive romance experience that doesn't cost you a thing to participate in. It's not like a novel or an audiobook where you have to pay for it. It's totally free. And while the story is told through a podcast format, there's an additional element that's added by Instagram, because both the hero and the heroine have their own Instagram accounts, and you can follow along and watch their love story play out in real time with the release of the episodes. So our first season is called 10-Week Turnabout, written by Amelia, and it's the story of Ingrid and Noah, who were high school sweethearts in their small town back in middle of nowhere, Indiana, and they haven't seen each other since they graduated, and Ingrid went off to college in New York. So it's years later, and Ingrid fancies herself a big New Yorker now. She's left small town America behind. And Noah is still just a good old boy country guy at heart, and he's in New York just for the summer. So when they bump into each other in Manhattan, they butt heads a lot, but they can't ignore this old flame that's still between them despite their differences.
I love it. And so, Amelia, you wrote 10-Week Turnabout. What was the source of inspiration?
Yeah. So the book takes place in New York, and I lived in New York for a couple of years. And when I lived there, I really didn't know anyone except for like a couple of cousins that I hadn't seen in a long time. And so there's that sense of like anonymity and like you really don't know anyone, and it was like very freeing. But I kept having that feeling of like, how crazy would it be if I saw someone from that like tiny town that I grew up in? I'm not from the Midwest. I grew up in California, but still from a very small community. But I kept thinking about that. And then I was like, my little romance brain was like, well, what if I ran into someone from high school? What if it was a boy from high school? And then it kind of all sprung from there. And plus I love any romance where the main characters have a shared history to be working off of. So it all just kind of added some layers and really just took off from there.
So talking about writing process, was the process different knowing that this is going to be an audio as opposed to audio first as opposed to just a book? When you developed the characters in the storyline, or was it the same?
Yeah. Honestly, now I wish I had thought about it a little bit more from the get-go. As we've been looking forward, that's something I've been thinking about a lot more. But really, this was the first like big book that I was doing more on my own. Before this, I did a lot of ghostwriting. So I was just really excited to just be doing something that I really had free reign over. So I was just really excited to be doing all the kind of creative thinking alongside my collaborators. That's kind of one of my favorite things about Consensual. It's how collaborative our writing process is. So really at every stage, like it was kind of like I came up with the idea and wrote out kind of like a rough plot summary and like character descriptions. And then we would hop on a call and we would all talk about like, okay, like, what do you think? How's this working? and Becca and our team would ask all these questions, and I'd be like, great, and then kind of move into the outline and work through that, and then we'd hop on another call, and that was kind of like a back and forth that was really, really helpful, to be able to have like constant feedback, and a constant team of really wonderful women to be working with as we were doing this.
I love it. And so this story takes place in a short period of time. Was it tough to keep the shorter timeline where the characters together, or was it, easier?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it was a lot easier. Initially, I had it stretched out for a lot longer. I think initially I was very concerned with keeping it true to life. And in my experience in New York, everyone is just so busy that even people who care about each other will only see each other like once every few months. But we decided that, it just made more sense that Noah would only want to be in New York for a short period of time. And that, their relationship would kind of just pick up right where they left off, and there would be kind of immediate like tension and urgency. And so it didn't really make sense for it to be dragging on for, 6 months to a year. So yeah.
I love it. And Becca, what can we expect for Consensual Pods for future seasons?
We actually have our second season. The first draft of the book is written out, and Amelia and I worked on that one together, which I'm really excited about. And it stars our heroine in that book is Cleo, who is a secondary character in this first book, and totally just fell in love with her. Loved the voice actor we worked with, Nadia, who voices Cleo, is absolutely spectacular. We're so excited to work with her again. And it's follows a similar timeline. In fact, it's an even shorter timeline than 10-Week Turnabout. The whole story takes place in the course of about a week. But we're super excited about that. And we've already got some outlines and some collaborations looking forward even beyond season 2. So we're so excited about that.
So talk to us about the process of making on this podcast. Like, do you cast audio, like the narrators? What was the process like?
Yeah. So once we had this whole book written and polished, and Amelia had gone through a couple of drafts, once we had something that was finished, Rachel, who is kind of the third part to our triumphant trio, took it and turned it into a script. And she's very, very involved in the theater community in Chicago. So she played a huge role in helping cast this. The main two voices, Noah and Ingrid. Ingrid is actually played by my sister, who is a voiceover actor in Chicago. And then she knew someone who she thought might be a good fit for Noah. And we just absolutely fell in love with his voice. It is so low and dreamy. And just kind of went from there, casting this whole cast of characters. And we recorded the whole thing over the course of about a month. Nadia, who was Cleo, flew in from New York and did all of her stuff in a week, whereas Travis and Allison, who play Ingrid and Noah, were local to Chicago, so we worked with them over the course of a month. And Rachel directed, and I did a lot of making tea and muffins for all of our actors to keep them hydrated and awake. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. A really great community.
That's fascinating. And so how long are the episodes, and how many episodes can we expect?
There are, I believe, 14 episodes when you count the epilogue, and then we have a super short episode that we kind of refer to as like our intermission or our interlude. That's just like an 8-minute or 5 or 8 minute episode. I think the shortest episodes are 8 minutes and the longest ones are about 30 minutes. So they range in length, but little morsels to get through.
I love this. Oh my gosh. And when are you launching?
We are launching this Wednesday, which is July 15th. Oh my God, that's in 2 days. I'm not freaking out. It's fine. I believe by the time this podcast goes live, we will already have several episodes out, so you can go and listen to them right away. But Wow. Yeah. It's been a really long time in the making. So it's so exciting that this is finally getting out in the world.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah, this is so exciting. So now let's talk about romance and let's talk about romance tropes. What are some of your favorite tropes?
I personally love an enemies to lovers trope. I have to like really work very hard to not put that into everything that I write, because I just love that kind of that tension and that banter and that dynamic.
And I am no help for stopping her from doing that because I also love enemies to lovers. But I also, anything that's opposites attract, and also any book where they go on vacation. I think I'm just turned on by paid time off or travel because anytime they're going anywhere, even if it's somewhere I wouldn't even want to go, I am absolutely all in. I love a vacation book.
That's a good way to look at it, the vacation book. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, I read quite a few of those.
Right? Especially now where we can't go anywhere. So absolutely, I want to read about somebody going somewhere, even if it was somewhere boring. I don't even care. I want to go somewhere that's not my house.
Yeah, I think vacation books are historical fiction now, thanks to the pandemic. Yeah, I read a road trip vacation. They went from Florida all the way to Quebec, and I interviewed the author, and she's like, I think it's historical fiction. And I was like, I agree with you.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad, but it's true.
It's true. Like, I don't think we're going to be vacationing anytime soon. So
My heart.
I know. So let's talk about Becca and Amelia, whichever goes first, tell us what romance subgenre do you love? Contemporary, historical, paranormal, fantasy, dark, whatever it is. What has been some of your favorite books of this year?
Go for it, Amelia.
Okay. I think that I typically stick to contemporary. And the book that I just finished and I'm already so obsessed with is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. Obsessed. Like, can't stop talking about it. Can't stop recommending it. I like have to rein it in a little bit, but so good. So incredible. I'm also currently reading You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. It's YA, but it's also a romance. Highly recommend. Loving that so far.
Did you read Dani Brown by any chance?
Not yet, but it is on my list and I cannot wait.
I like you doing better than Chloe Brown, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He gets better and better. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Literally right before this, Amelia and I were texting because I was like, okay, wait, are you like, what books are you going to talk about? I want to be sure we don't talk about the same ones. And right away, she's like, I'm going to have to make sure I don't talk about Get a Life, Chloe Brown for like the entire time because I am so obsessed with it.
Yeah. I interviewed Talia a while ago, and so I got to ask her like my Chloe Brown questions, and one of them was like, I really loved email section. Like they go the banter between the emails, they go back and forth. And she was like, yeah, that was an afterthought. Like that was something the editor wanted me to add. And I was like, it was like my favorite scene. So, it was like a lot of thought about like the chronic endless. Like she did a great job about it. Like making sure, like, and the enemies to lovers painters and Red being just a cinnamon roll, so.
Oh my God. A cinnamon roll guy? I'm in. I'm totally in.
So if you like a cinnamon roll, then you have to read Dani Brown because the hero loves audiobooks and he listens to romance and he gets stopped in one moment. He's like listening to Steamy Scene. And the audio comes up, and Danny's like, "What are you listening to?" He's like, audiobook."
Oh my God!
Yeah. So he's like a romance-loving, fighting toxic masculinity. Great hero.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God! I'm so excited.
I have to buy the book immediately. I need it now. In my hands immediately.
So good. So how about you, Becca?
Well, one that I actually just did that it did not come out this year. It came out a couple years ago. But it's Wish You Were Here by Renee Carlino. And I don't know if you've read it, but I was obsessed. And also, of course, there's travel in it. So like,
Yep.
sold, right? But we got some love triangle going, and super sad, but also like so good. Oh my God, I absolutely loved it. I like a little bit sad sometimes, like the sappy stuff, like The Notebook, right? Yeah, so super, super loved that. And then I've just been doing so much Jasmine Guillory. Honestly, I feel like that's all I talk about. But I love her, right? And when you find an author that you love, you just, right? You stick to it. But anything by her, absolutely.
I love it. Did you read Party of Two by any chance?
I just got it. So I just started it. Okay. So I can't speak to it too much, but yeah, just picked it up.
I love it. Yeah, I just have it. I haven't read it. It's like in my TBR. I got quite a few of the books to read, but I'm looking forward to it. I love her writing. Like, she does a great job.
Isn't that the story of my life? Just like the stack of books, or my Goodreads is so embarrassing. The amount of want to read books on there that I'm like, okay, which one next?
Yeah, pretty much. I agree. So, which your books have you read in the past few months that you recommend?
Amelia, you want to go?
Man. Sure. I mean, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I will never stop talking
Really? I'm so surprised.
My other two recommendations aren't strictly romance, because I too am so behind on my list. But so like lovers of romance and like true happily ever afters, be warned. But I was obsessed with Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney after I read it. And then this book is like not a romance at all. So like truly romance lovers, don't take this recommendation if you don't want a happily ever after, or if you want one. But In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. It's a really incredible book. Highly recommend.
I love it. How about you, Becca?
I feel like this is one that everybody has read, so I don't even know if it counts, but I just did Him, which I think by Serena Bowen, who I think got a big award a couple of years ago, but I really, really enjoyed that. I've done a lot of athlete romance recently, but also I live for a gay romance. So I enjoyed that one a lot. And then I'm the same. I feel like I've been reading a lot of, I'm currently working on Democracy in Black, right? Which is big, heavy race relation stuff, but that stuff is equally important, right? I always say that I try to balance it out, that I do one heavy, important reading and then, time to do beach read, balance it out so that you never get too weighed down.
I love it. So you should check out, if you like him, you should read Us and the rest of the series.
Yeah, are they all good?
They're really good. So that's a really good series. There's Us, and then there's the wives and the wives and girlfriends club. I think they call it WAGs for it. So there's 2 more books in the series. So there's like 3, and then they just did a story over the winter called Epic, and so it's kind of like in the same world. So there's about 5 books within that series. But also, you should check out Rachel Reed, who writes gay hockey players too.
Oh, I'm so in.
And it's so good. So Heat of Rivalry is my favorite of the series. And it's about 2 rivals who happen to have a secret relationship. Yeah. So the media plays them out as rivals. They're supposed to hate each other. And then they're like, in secret, they're like banging each other.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed. Oh my God. I love gay athlete romance so much because, oh my God, right? We hate a stereotype. I just love it. I could talk about it forever. Oh my God.
So that's a really good series to check out. If you like this, and you like that. So.
Amazing. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So what books are your TBR?
Well, I don't know if you could have expected this, but I need to read Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Yes. Because a certain someone won't stop talking about it. So I feel like I have an obligation to read it. Absolutely. But the other, and this is not a romance novel either, started it and then gotten too bogged down in work and not finished it. And I'm like embarrassed by it. But The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett is sitting on my end table. And her first book, The Mothers, was just one of the most beautifully written things I've read in my entire life. It was one of those books that you read it and something is written so well that you get mad that you didn't write it. And oh my God, just absolutely obsessed. So I've been so hyped for her sophomore novel for so long. And then I got it. And then life just got so busy. And then I've only been able to do audiobooks because I haven't been able to like sit down and read, which is also something, right, that I feel like a lot of people during this time struggle with, sitting down and reading a book in a time when our heads are really busy and life is really scary. And so audiobooks tend to be a little bit easier, which is why I'm excited and about our podcast, right? Because it's short little episodes that you can get through quickly, and you don't have to read them if reading's not your thing. But
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And then for me, take a hint, Danny Brown, obviously, is on my TBR. The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. That was a recommendation from Becca that just came in the mail the other day that I'm excited to get started on. And then Soft on Soft by Mina Wahib is a book I just saw on Twitter and then downloaded onto my Kindle, and I'm very excited to read that also.
I love that. So where can we find you online?
Well, you can find Consensual at Consensual Pod on Instagram. And our trailer is already up as of recording this. But by the time it comes out, certainly we will have a few episodes out. So they are available on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And then my personal account is at BGrizz, but that's less exciting and not nearly as thrilling as the Consensual account is.
Yeah. And you can find stuff about me on the Consensual Pod account also.
Well, thank you, Molly and Becca, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
This was so much fun. And I got so many good recommendations. Oh my God. I'm set for reading for a while.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, or rate and review the show. This is the easiest way to support this podcast. Want to join a romance-loving community? Want weekly book recommendations, monthly author Q&As, and book recommendation meetups? Make new friends? Then join our Patreon community. To sign up, please follow the links in the show notes. What to Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts to love on frolic.media/podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.